Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of PAOK Talk. We are your hosts, Angelo and Jono. Jono, how are you this afternoon?
Hey Angela, yeah, not bad, not bad. How are you doing post first leg defeat?
I'm doing all right. Doing better than I was yesterday after result. But we'll get into all of that and our reactions right away. So, let's jump into it. Jono, just I have a couple questions for you. What do you think about our performance? Was it a good performance? Who was man of the match? And does this result give us a good chance in the second leg?
Yeah, well, in terms of performance, I thought we were good. We were quite solid throughout. I think the result is a little bit unjust to us. We probably, worst case, should have been a draw, but we probably could have won. We had the missed penalty with Belkas. We had the post just a couple minutes. We had El Kaduri hit the post just a few minutes before they went 2-1 up. So it feels a little bit like a missed opportunity to get a positive result to take back to Tuba, but I think all in all, the performance was pretty solid, pretty good. In terms of Krasnodar, I just wanted to say that they looked good at times in attack. In their final third, they would play quick passes, 1-2s, and they just missed that final pass.
Right.
So either it was just a little bit heavy, or a couple times they did get through. Zivkovic was out like a flash off his line and was able to get to the ball and stop the danger. So credit to Zivkovic, he had a good game in that respect. A couple of other times they got shots away, but they were offside. So we've seen what they can do. We've seen the danger from Krasnodar with the ball. If you allow them to kind of get to within 20, 25 yards of your box, they can be dangerous. So that's something we're going to have to be on the lookout for in the second leg. But otherwise, for the most part, I thought we were, at their level, if not above. We were good. We had chances. They didn't. I mean, yes, they had a couple of those little half moments, but they didn't trouble us too much.
Right.
In terms of a man of the match, I think El Kaduri was, for another European game, was again really good. Showed that he really important at that level, was able to control the ball and just get himself in and out of danger, hold the ball, weave through a few opponents, and then kind of release a pass into space and get us going into an attack. So I thought he was good. I also thought that Michailidis, our young centre back, is also worth mentioning. The most solid I've seen him defensively probably in his short career, and he's been getting better with every game. So if we think back to the Besiktas game, he was a little bit shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Against Benfica, he was quite solid, and then I think against Krasnodar was probably his best European performance at least. He's really solid. Didn't seem troubled at all by the level of the opponent. So I think that's really encouraging for us moving forward. We know we've been giving minutes to these young guys, to Michailidis and Solis, so it's really good to see them actually step up and be really adequate at the level. Would you agree with those man of the match?
So I think
calls?
I think that both of them play really well. Again, I think we mentioned El Kaduri in an earlier episode and how important he was for European games and just big games, because he's the type of player who can calm things down when things are maybe hectic. He could draw the foul to slow things down again. He's just been solid for a lot of our European games. Those are the types of players that we need more of, and I think we mentioned Schwab and someone like Biseswar from a couple of years ago, right? He scored in a lot of the big matches in Europe. But yeah, again, I think he played well. I think Michailidis played well. I think Yanuli, going forward, he played well. Defense is still a little shaky. I think we've seen that, in the Besiktas game. We saw that the other day a little bit. So I think that's the difference between him playing for us for a couple more years or him playing in the EPL or a really top flight league. I think he's more than capable offensively. Like I said last episode, I think it's just the defensive part that he is not lacking, but that he needs to improve. In regards to the game overall, right, that penalty miss, it was just a heartbreaker. I was just watching it and I was really, really hyped and excited when I saw the replay, because it was a clear handball. My only question was whether it was inside the box or outside the box. It was really close. I think half of his body was in. if I remember correctly. I think it was really close. And a lot of the times when there's a shot from closer to the defender when it hits the hand, the refs might say, well, they didn't have time. So, but once I saw the replay in slow motion, I was expecting a penalty, and I'm glad the referee gave it. But I mean, that was just a heartbreaker. That could have, that was if we happen to lose by one goal, or if we tie but we lose on the way aggregate, that's a $30 million miss right there. Right.
It's true. Like it's sorry to cut you off. No. It's just because it was so early in the game. It would have been great just to put. It would have put so much pressure on them because we wanted that goal. So to score within 5-6 minutes, it's just ideal because then you can be. I mean, we played the game smart tactically. We didn't lose our heads after the penalty miss, which I thought was a good sign.
Right.
We played the game and we ended up taking the lead. Obviously, so. Like when you break it down like that, yes, it could be a 30 million euro miss, but I think we need to obviously, I'm sure the team will forget about it, and we have another game ahead of us, 90 minutes, where it's in our hands, right? A 1-0 win gets us through, so yeah, but I'm with you. It was very I was nervous, but every time a team of mine gets a penalty, I always think that they're going to miss. And again, I thought Belgas would miss, and most of the time they score. So my feelings aren't an accurate guide. So he's going to score a penalty.
It's funny because I was thinking that too. I was like, he's going to miss. I've never seen a professional team miss more penalties than we do. I mean, I'm being realistic here. I would love to see the exact, we didn't have that in front of us, but I would love to see the exact percentage of as I know we've missed a couple during the league last year and the playoffs last year. We obviously missed the one earlier in the European campaign, and then this one, right? So.
Yeah, well, you don't have the numbers in front of you, but you have Jono in front of you who knows the numbers off the top of his head. So
go ahead.
Of our last 4 penalties, this is including the one in the friendly. So the end of the season, last season, Svidevski missed a penalty in the playoffs.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yep.
In our 2-0 win at the Vigilini Stadium. Svidevski again missed against Atromitos in the friendlies. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to count that, but it's still a missed penalty, and it probably plays on the psyche of the team.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then Akbom, who we know, Svidevski isn't the penalty taker either, so I guess they were trying to play him back into form with both those penalties, trying to get him a goal. Akbom against Besiktas, as you said, and then Belkas. And if you remember against Besiktas, there was kind of, not a big deal made, but there was a comment made about how Belkas was the penalty taker and he gave it to Akbom, who isn't the regular penalty taker. I guess Akbom probably knowing that he was, going to finish up soon from PAOK, maybe wanting a farewell goal.
Right.
So, so our last 4, that does include a friendly, have been missed. So it's not a great record to have, absolutely, you're right. And while we're on this topic, I was looking this up yesterday. So Belkas, I think his record is about 7 or 8 scored, 3 missed, and I know Fab was a penalty taker in Austria, so his record is about 15 scored and 4 missed. So just moving forward, Belgas has been quite reliable apart from the other day, but yes, Fab might be one that could take the mantle.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand is Belgas, he's PAOK through and through, right? So he's probably all hyped up. He knows this is a big moment. And that's why I'm surprised they wouldn't give it to someone who's more calm and cool and collected, someone like a Schwab or even a Zivkovic. This is someone who's played in high leagues before, right? He was a wonder kid at one point. I'm sure, a Champions League first leg match isn't the highest of the games that he's played in. So even someone like him, he could come and take it. I feel like someone like El Kaduri will be more calm, and that's the biggest thing that a penalty taker needs to have is calm, cool, and collectedness, knowing that all he's got to do is just put it in the right spot. Pelkas, he tried to go down the middle, right? I hate that. I hate that move. And even if he got it a little higher, it would have been a goal, right? Because the goalie got it with his trailing hand. So I mean, it almost went in, but that's the thing about shooting down the middle is if you miss, it looks really bad.
That's the thing.
So back to my, so it's in my head, it could have been a 2-2 draw, but obviously you never know what could happen. We could have sat back the whole game and giving up another 2 goals, just like we did, right? So anything, we can't sit here and say, oh well, if Pelka scored that goal, he will have scored the next goal again. It will have been 2-0, and then you
Yeah.
never know, right?
Yeah, exactly. It changes the whole complexion
Right.
of the game, scoring a goal that early. So you're right. We never know. Just to go back to the penalty takers quickly. Sorry. Um, I think like that's something that's obviously decided beforehand. Like Belgas is a designated penalty taker. He's been pretty reliable. Like I know I just went over his record, but
Right.
he hasn't missed for PAOK for quite a while, so I have no problem with him taking it.
Right.
It's obviously going to be a coach's decision if he passes that on to Savab. The Zivkovic thing, I don't know. If he hasn't been a penalty taker, I don't agree with just giving it to him because he's the bigger name, played the bigger games. I mean,
Right.
from the penalty spot, that counts for nothing. This is just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, whether they pass it on to Svab, that'll be a coach's decision or a management decision. And for now, I was happy with Pelkas to take it. I was surprised though that he went down the middle because I don't really remember him hitting penalties down the middle. It seems like he was a little bit out of character, but might not be remembering correctly. But yeah, like you said, like it, if he had scored, it could have changed the complexion of the game. So maybe we end up copping 4. So who knows?
Right, yeah, and I was just looking while you were talking about Zivkovic's penalties, and let me just double check. Yeah, no, the thing I was using was not reliable because it says Pelkas hasn't had any either. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you could find it while we're talking real quick because I'm really curious to see. And I agree, it shouldn't just now. I'm not just talking about because of his reputation or his the money but I just think he's more of a he's played in bigger games is what I'm trying to get at, and he's probably more likely. Again, I don't know his record, which I'm trying to find. That's why I'm.
So I have it here. So
Okay.
Zivkovic's professional penalty record is a big fat 0 taken, 0 scored. So you're never going to give it to someone who has never taken.
Did you
a
look at
penalty
that on
professionally.
Transfer Market?
Yeah.
Because I searched it too, and I searched Pelkas, and it came up 0-0 too. So that's why that's why I was.
But the Belkas, that's where I looked yesterday, and it had a record for.
Oh, so
Belkas.
maybe, yeah. So maybe we'll come back to it later. All right. So, yeah. So, how do you think that front three of Pelkas, Tolis, and Zivkovic worked out?
Yeah, well, it's something that we obviously mentioned in the previous podcast, and to be fair, neither of us thought that Ferreira would actually go with it without really trialing it. So basically started with Zivkovic down the middle as kind of a false 9, if you like. Yeah, look, I thought they were okay. I mean, at times you really saw that we lacked a striker. Like Zivkovic at times just got bullied off the ball when he tried to, kind of hold it up. We knew that was going to happen if he went with this. But it's clear that we need a striker, and obviously we've signed Cholak now officially. We really missed a striker in that game.
Yep.
I didn't think it was awful though. Like we still created a little bit. But yeah, there were moments for sure where you're like, yeah, see, we needed a bigger body, or we needed someone there who just, even like just getting into the box. There was times when, like Zivkovic and Solis are kind of both naturally a little bit drawn to the wings and stuff. So yeah, I think I don't think it was awful. I think it's something that we can maybe potentially use in emergency situations again moving forward. But I don't know if we went back. I don't know if I'd start Svidevsky because he's just badly out of form. So his hands were kind of tied a little bit. But would you have started Svidevsky, or were you happy with those 3?
I mean, if Swiderski was on, he's been hot and cold throughout his whole PAOK career, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But I think that those 3 are fine. I'm just surprised he didn't do that in the game earlier over the weekend, right? Because he had Swiderski start.
Yes, over the weekend he did.
Right. Yeah. So I would. That's why when we spoke over the weekend, the preview, I was saying, well, he wouldn't change it last minute, or he would have tried it during that game. So that's why I was a little surprised. But I agree that if we had Akbom, I think we win that game. And if we had Cholak, I would assume we'd win that game, right? But this is what gets me frustrated is, we are a team, and I'm going to go on a little tangent here real quick because I know we're looking at the time, but we are a team that was looking to make the Champions League for the first time in our history. And we sold our striker, who's come up big before, in the middle or right before the biggest game of probably our history. And that's the difference between good run teams and poorly managed teams, right? Teams are well run and teams are poorly managed. Other teams, probably would have waited until after at least the first leg to see what happens, right? I mean, as we've mentioned before multiple times, and as we hear all the time, that's a $30 million game, and we gave our striker not even for 10, 15 million. We gave him for what, 3 million or less? No,
3 point.
Right, right, less. So it was. I just think that's poorly. It was a poor decision by the PAOK management, and I'm sure they could have waited. Right, I'm sure we could have waited till after. It wasn't a thing where Middlesbrough said, we need him right now. No. So that's what bugs me about this whole thing. Excuse me, is that I think that if we had Akbom, like you said, if we had a good striker, I think we win that game. Would you agree that it was a poor timing decision by PAOK to get rid of Akbom?
Look, it definitely was in terms of, like as you said, if we have Akbom, we probably win that game, or we get the result, a positive result being a draw. In saying that, I'm a little bit more of a realist with these situations, and
right.
the rumors around Akbom had been rife for all of the summer. It was clear he was on the move. They had held on to him for the Besiktas game. They had held on to him for the Benfica game. I think, given this was 2 legs, I mean, I guess the comment is they could have, because they were into Cholak weeks, even a month before they actually signed him. So they were obviously working on getting the replacement. That's
right.
Maybe the thing to say, that they didn't, because they obviously ended up coming to a compromise or upping their bulk. This is upping our price to match what Rijeka wanted. So could have that happened sooner? Maybe qualifying against Benfica allowed us financially to do that. I don't know, but in terms, if you're looking at it purely from a football perspective, the Akbom sale was poorly timed by management. She should have held on until the replacement had been signed from but there's other factors around that. It's not as simple as, just we need to hold on to him. Like, I mean, I guess you could have. He's under contract, but
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to take everything into consideration, and I think he was on his way out. Sounds like he did us a favor against Benfica, because I don't know if you saw our media manager or someone. His name's Lefterit Lucas. Who I'm not sure what his exact role is at PAOK, but he has a role within the administration and within the media team. He had a post basically thanking Akbom, saying that he didn't have to play against Benfica.
Right.
So if he's kind of played that as a favor or pushed back his move to Middlesbrough, then I don't like. Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah.
No, I agree with you. The signing, the replacement probably should have been signed quicker.
Right. Yeah.
Is what I'll say.
Right. I mean, if he wants to help PAOK out, I reached out to him on Instagram to come on our show. I doubt that's going to be happening. So go ahead.
Go. Yeah. So I was just going to say with so Svitevski obviously didn't start, and this was a game where the only other striker in the squad was Gusias, right, a 16-year-old kid who obviously didn't end up making the bench. He got cut before the game. So what does it mean for Svitevski? I mean, he came on a couple €1 million transfer.
Right.
Where do you see his future in terms of at bulk? Like, he's obviously going to be. It looks like he'll be a number 2 behind Cholak. What do you think?
Yeah, I know that a lot of people were high on him. I know personally, a couple people that thought he was going to be a really big deal and the next big thing, but I don't want to say he's been a flop, because I don't think he's been an exact flop. But for the hype that he came in bringing, I do think that he's just in a really bad cold spell right now. But unfortunately, as a striker, when you need to score goals, especially in big games, whether it's in the league, the playoffs, or Europe, you need to score the big goals. I can't even remember the last time if he has, a multiple goal game. I feel like he's more of a goal scorer. Akbom is more of a workhorse that gets open position and will be in the right spot, the right time. He'll work. He'll make that hard tackle. He'll make that pass. That's against the end line, like he did the other game. But Akbom, I feel, is just a poacher who's going to be scoring goals. But if he doesn't offer much else, is what I'm trying to get at. So
Svidevsky, you mean, is a poacher?
yes, Swiderski,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So what does that mean for his PAOK career? I think that again, I think unless they start playing him in the league games against lesser teams, that he could get his form back. I think he's going to have a tough time seeing playing time in big games. I mean, if Čolak comes in and he scores a goal against Krasnodar and he goes into the league and starts putting in goals like Prijovic status, I think Swiderski, I don't think that we're going to be letting him go as easily because, as you said, he came in on somewhat of a big fee, so we're going to want some sort of return on him. But I think that him as a starter, he's going to need to work on getting goals against lesser teams that could build his confidence.
Yep. That's I agree with all that, and I just don't think when you're trying to win a title, when you're trying to have a run in Europe, you don't have the luxury of playing a guy and hoping that trying to play him back into form. He needs to help himself a little bit and get himself immersed in the game, and it's something that he's not that type of striker. Like against Atromitos, I did see him trying to kind of chase the ball around, not like a headless chook, but trying to follow the ball rather than stay in the box, because that's what he is, right? He's a stay-at-home striker,
right?
And if the ball gets brought to him, then he can finish. Type like a one-touch, a poacher, as you said, type of finisher. But yeah, I think Čolak will clearly be the starter. He's come in for big money, money by Greek league standards anyway.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm with you. And even he did score multiple goals not that long ago against Aris in that playoff game we're talking about, but it didn't play him into form. Like we had said, that was kind of a one-off. He scored those two, and then his goals dried up again.
Right.
So yeah, he's up against it in terms of his PAOK career. He's going to be the number 2, at least for the first half of this season. Mm-hmm. We don't know what Čolak's going to bring. Obviously, we're hopeful that he's going to be successful, but he's definitely up against it. And yeah, like guys like that, poachers, they are kind of one-trick ponies in that if they're not scoring, they don't offer much. So Svidevsky does have a bit of work to do moving forward. But we'll use that, the Svidevsky thing. So we've mentioned Čolak a few times. And so obviously Čolak and Wagwe, or I'm going to call him Musa because I've heard about 10 different pronunciations of his name. So Čolak and Musa were announced officially the other day by the club. Čolak costs 3 million euros and on a 4-year deal has signed, whereas Musa has come on a season-long loan from Barcelona. It doesn't appear to be a buyout option, which we mentioned in our previous episode. Barcelona seem to rate him quite highly internally.
Yep.
So it looks like he'll be on the way back after that. So, I mean, they're 2 signings that we desperately needed. The fans were crying out for. We got our striker, we got our right back. What do you think in terms of, they look good on paper, we discussed. How about playing them now? So are they going to play the second leg? What do you think?
So I think Čolak will definitely play the second leg. I think he's going to start. He's played 4 games for Rijeka this season before his move to PAOK. Wagwe obviously did preseason with Barcelona, which is probably really good, I'd assume, rather than preseason in Greece or anywhere. But he didn't play in any of the friendlies for Barcelona. Obviously, he didn't get any league time. So I would say Čolak definitely is going to be starting. Wagwe, I don't think Crespo, did that bad defensively. Obviously, I think, going forward, he's a liability. But in a game where all you need is a 1-0 win, just to keep a clean sheet, I think, I don't think PAOK will mind starting with Crespo back there. I think Wagwe might get some playing time in the game versus Volos off the bench, or I definitely don't see him starting this weekend. But I could see him coming off the bench maybe 10-15 minutes. I could see Čolak coming off the bench maybe the last 30 minutes or so. Again, I don't know if he's going to be starting, but I would assume for the second leg that Čolak would be starting and Wagwe will be on the bench.
Yeah. Yep, that's fair. That's I agree with Jolak. I think Jolak is a lock to start. I would even start Jolak, as you mentioned. He's played 4 games for Rijeka, so he's definitely match fit. Worst case, he's fit to play 60 or 70 minutes.
Right.
I'd be starting him against Warlords, just getting him in.
Right.
Like get to know his teammates, get to know the system a little bit. Hopefully, he can grab a goal or two, and just get his confidence up. Even if it is only 60 or 70, I think starting. This is all on the presumption that he's obviously fit enough to play these minutes, and given
Yep.
his playing time this year, I think he would be. I would be starting Jolak against Volos, and then yeah, as you said, he's a lock to start against Krasnodar. We won't be going with the false line again. We need to score. It'll just structurally, it'll help us a lot. In terms of Musa, yeah, I'm not sure. Would you start him against Volos? Like, given it's a game where we're going to have possession, we saw Bizesvar started against Atromitos. He played there against Larissa in a game where we had possession. Um, so he's going to be able to get forward. I don't know. It depends on his fitness, I suppose. But do you think Musa starts against Volos? And
I,
maybe, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with Crespo in the second leg, but
yeah, I don't know if he starts, but I could see him again. If we need a goal, if we need to break down their defense, I could see him playing the last 30 minutes or so. I don't see him starting. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think that we are going to go. Maybe we're going to get him some game time, but that hasn't been working well. I mean, so that goes to determining, are we going to be doing a rotation? What do we have planned for this game? I mean, obviously the big game is next Wednesday. Well, at least for my time, it'll be Wednesday. Do we have a rotation for the Volos game? Do we risk dropping points again to keep everyone fit and healthy? Or do we go for the win? Personally, I think we need to go for the win. So I would say maybe some rotation, but I don't think we could change too many things because we need to first start getting confidence. With the game versus Atromitos, tying them, and then losing Krasnodar. I don't think we can afford to have another game where we don't win, where we're behind the eight ball, even a tie. I think that, again, and I've said this before, and I know this is a PAOK Talk show, but I believe that Olympiacos is a really good team. So I do not think that we could fall back 5 points from them early on, 6 points from them early on. Right now it'll be 2, and then if we tie, it'll be 4 or 5. So I think that we need to play every game. We need to play to win. I don't think there's going to be a huge rotation. Maybe some players like Biswar can come in. I could see a CT maybe getting in, but again, he's not the type of player to play in that game. But are you going to give someone a rest to prepare them? So there's a lot of things that we could think of. So what do you think? Do you think that we're going to be rotating much? Do you think, our focus is going to be there? How do you see that game going?
yeah, I agree with everything you said 100%. You cannot afford to drop. We can't afford to drop points against Volos. I kind of gave a pass against Atromitos. It was a big win against Benfica. Emotionally, the team would have been up and about, so it was hard to come back down and focus. But there's no excuses now. You had your one slip up. We just have to beat Volos like scrappy 1-0. That's what I wanted against Atromitos, which is how it was looked like it was
Right.
going to go. So just however the win comes, you need to win. That's what big teams do. We're going to be in Europe this year, whether it's the Champions League or the Europa League. So we're going to have to deal with playing midweek, having highs and lows emotionally because of wins, losses, or whatever. You're going to have to bounce back. Big teams have European competition that they balance. Like, we just need to deal. It's like I gave it as not an excuse, but I understood why we, maybe weren't great against the Tromitos, but that's a one-off for me. You can't afford, as you said, you can't afford to do that week in, week out, because before you know it, we're going to be 4, 5, 6, 7 points behind, and you're
Exactly.
chasing your tail all season. And then you go into the derbies needing to win, which is, derbies are hard to win at the best of times, let alone when you absolutely have to win or your season's potentially over in terms of the title. So, no, I'm with you. Volos is a must-win. So, off that logic, you can't really rotate much. Like you said, midfield, he doesn't seem to trust Ninua yet. We don't know what he's going to get because El Gadoud is the one that has been injury prone in the past, so
Mm-hmm.
he'd be the one that he'd maybe want to rotate. But I don't know if you can afford to. As you said, a City should not play this game. It's not a game for him where we're going to have possession. So, I mean, do you have to trust Ninoa, or do you just, bite the bullet and play El Kaduri? We should say there's a 3-day rest between Krasnodar and this game, followed by another 3-day rest, whereas against Benfica there was only 2 days, so maybe that 1 day might make a difference, and he won't rotate too heavily.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think there'll be as heavy rotation, and I wouldn't be doing it because you just have to win. And you have 5 subs in the Greek league. So if we have the result wrapped up by the hour, by 65 minutes, by 70, you pull off your guys that are a little bit fatigued, El Kaduri, Belkas, whoever, and give them a rest like that. But I would be starting basically a full team, assuming everyone's fit.
Yeah, and looking at Krasnodar's schedule, they play Sochi on the road on Saturday. And Sochi is in 4th place. Krasnodar is in 6th place. So they're gonna have a tough game too. So it's not like they're gonna be playing the weakest teams in the league. But I agree. I think we need, as I mentioned before, we need to make sure we get 3 points this game. I think it's really big, not only for our title aspirations, but also for our momentum going into the next game. I think it's possible that we get the result, but we won't give any predictions because we'll do a show later this weekend. Any final thoughts about anything we talked about?
No, that's all. I'm really excited to see Cholak and Musa, the 2 new signings. Like I said, hopefully Cholak gets a start against Volos, even if not off the bench. And I'm really excited. We have a big opportunity to qualify for the group stage despite the loss. We'll talk about this obviously in the next episode, but no, it's been a good start to the season, and considering stuff was a little bit doom and gloom last season, yeah, it's all going really well. I'm really excited for the next week or so. Yeah,
and what's funny is Wagwe is going to go from playing with Barcelona to, if he gets in, playing at Volos this weekend. So it's definitely a different thing for him. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens this weekend. I'm looking forward to our next show where we could give a prediction for the second leg of the Krasnodar game. John and I would like to thank you for listening to this 4th episode. We're getting a lot of views, especially on the last episode. So if you guys could again keep sharing, keep telling all your friends about the talk show, just to help us grow out, that'd be awesome. Thank you all for listening, and talk to you guys soon.